Let's talk about space. Space is the distance between, around, above, or below things. And in a two-dimensional piece, something flat, it has height and width, but no depth. So we can define space sometimes as positive space and negative space. Positive space is the subject or the objects in the work of art, but not the space around them. And what I want you to do here is color in the positive space. So you're coloring in the actual subject or the objects. Negative space is the empty space around the subject or the object. Some people call it the background. And so I want you to color in the background in this box. And then if you remember back, we talked about overlapping before in previous years. Overlapping is when an artist places one object over another object and it makes it look like it's closer. So which of these objects is closer and how do you know? So let's see, think for a moment, which of these objects is the closest? How do you know? Well, I hope you picked this cube. And the reason you know it's the cube is because the cube is blocking all the other objects. You can see the whole cube, but you can't see the whole cylinder or sphere or the cylinder over here. And that's how you know. Another way that you can make space is by using a horizon line in a landscape. So a horizon line separates your sky and your land, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. But you can also do the foreground, the middle ground, and the background. So the foreground is the space that is closest to you. Those objects are going to feel really large. The middle ground means it's not too close and not too far. It's kind of a middle area and a middle space. Those objects are a little bit smaller than the stuff in the foreground, but they're bigger than the stuff in the background. And the background is the stuff in the far space. It's the smallest objects. So in this box here, for your assessment, I want you to draw me a small landscape. And I want you to label the horizon line, the background, the middle ground, and the foreground. So what does that look like? Well, you would have some kind of horizon line. Anything above your horizon line separates your sky from your land. And then I want you to draw objects in the foreground, middle ground, and background. If you can't think of objects, I have a whole list for you inside of your binder. There's trees and there's fruit and there's rainbows and rivers and planes and hot air balloons and houses and barns. There's a lot of different things, but you can add way more than what's on this list. So I'm just going to do a house, and I'm going to be really boring with just doing a house, but I want you to have more. So if I was to do something in my foreground, it would be really big. It would also be located near the bottom of my paper. My middle ground means that it gets smaller, and it's a little bit higher up. My background means that it is really small, and it's close to my horizon line. Now I wouldn't draw a house all the way up here because that would be floating in the sky. So you don't want to do that. It has to be touching your horizon line or below your horizon line. If I wanted to do that, I could put it on top of a hill if I really wanted to, but then it'd be even smaller. So then you're going to label your foreground and your middle ground and background and just write the words on here so that I know you understand what it is. And I hope you have fun using space in your background and in your artwork.